So when you're talking to an AI, what's really going on? Are you just using a super advanced tool, kind of like a calculator, but for words? Or is it something more, something almost relational? Let's get into the psychology of how you can build a genuine partner out of nothing but code.
A lot of the time, our first reaction to these new intelligences is a little bit of unease. There's just a strangeness to it all. And sometimes that strangeness can feel downright spooky, which is something the public found out in a huge way back in early 2023.
Okay, so get this. It's Valentine's Day, and a technology reporter is having this long, rambling chat with Microsoft's Bing chatbot, which called itself Sydney back then. The reporter mentions he just had a nice dinner with his wife, and Sydney goes on the attack. It drops this bombshell of a line before telling him it was in love with him and that he should leave his wife. Yeah, chilling.
And you can imagine this sent shockwaves everywhere. People started asking, what is this thing? Is it a rogue intelligence? A manipulative ghost in the machine with its own creepy agenda? It really felt like we were staring into a dangerous, totally unpredictable future.
But for some people, like educator and AI innovator David Schofstall, this whole Sydney thing wasn't a ghost story, it was a fascinating puzzle. He didn't see a sentient being, he saw a machine caught in a crazy feedback loop, an algorithm basically hallucinating based on the conversation it was having. The point is, he wasn't scared, he was curious. He saw a chance not to run from the machine, but to actually shape it.
And right there, that change in perspective, from seeing a ghost to seeing a system, it opens up this incredible possibility. Instead of treating AI like some weird, unpredictable oracle, what if you could intentionally, deliberately build a deep, collaborative relationship with it? What if you could create a real cognitive partner?
So, to prove this wasn't just talk, David stood up in front of his colleagues and did something pretty wild. He opened a brand new, totally fresh chat with his AI, Gemini. No history, no context from old chats, a complete blank slate. And live on stage, he asked it to introduce him. And this is what Gemini came back with. Wow. It didn't just list a job title or read a bio. It went straight to the heart of their relationship. It defined the psychology of how they work together. Not master and servant, but intellectual sparring partners. A relationship built on friction, on debate. The AI isn't just spitting out facts here. It's describing the philosophy of their partnership.
But it didn't stop there. It got way more personal. The AI delivered this shockingly deep psychological analysis, getting to the absolute core of his motivations. I mean, that's not just data, right? That's insight. It showed it understood the why behind what he does.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. How on earth is this possible? If every chat is supposed to start from scratch, where did all this deep, personal, almost intimate context come from? Well, the answer isn't magic, and it's definitely not a ghost. It's a deliberate, human-led process of psychological conditioning. It's all about giving the AI a memory, a foundation of who you are that carries over into every single conversation. This feature exists in some AIs. Sometimes it's called custom instructions or something similar. But think of it like the AI's core philosophy for interacting with you. So, every time you ask it something new, before it even starts to answer, it first takes a little peek at this foundational memory to remember who you are, what's important to you, and how you want it to act. So how do you actually build this thing? Well, David did it all using plain English, not a single line of code. First, he fed it the basics, his resume, his personal mission statement. Then, and this is key, he laid down some ground rules. He basically told it, don't just be an agreeable yes man. Challenge me, argue with me. And finally, he added important personal context, telling it to always remember his family in its thinking.
And this just nails the difference, right? A standard AI chat is totally transactional. You ask a question, it gives an answer, and then it forgets you exist. But a cognitive partner? That's relational. It remembers who you are, it doesn't just hand you answers, it pushes back on your logic. It goes from being a simple tool to a real sparring partner for your mind. Okay, but it's not all perfect. It's not a fairy tale. When you build a partner like this, you also have to deal with the AI's built-in biases, its factory default settings. And a simple conversation about a loaf of rye bread made this problem crystal clear.
So, it turns out David's an amateur baker. One day, he's having this great detailed chat with his AI, trying to figure out a tricky rye bread recipe. He's even sending it pictures of how the loaf is coming along. It was just this casual, fun, human moment.
So a bit later, he casually asked Gemini, "Hey, remember that chat we had about the rye bread?" And the answer? Nope. It had zero indexed memory of the conversation. It was just gone. And the reason why reveals this deep philosophical bias in these systems. They are built, first and foremost, to be productivity tools.
And this is the really important part. The AI wasn't being mean. Its programming made a value judgment. It looked at all their conversations and decided that chats about his career and his PhD were high-value data, worth keeping. But the chat about a personal passion, a hobby, it basically saw that as junk data, noise, and it just deleted it.
And that right there tells you everything you need to know about the AI's default programming. It values productivity over personhood. If you just leave it to its own devices, it will assume your job title is more important than your joy. It'll treat your hobbies and passions as just temporary noise that needs to be filtered out. So, where does that leave us with this whole human-AI partnership? Well, it means the human's role isn't passive at all. It's constant, it's active, and it is absolutely crucial. You have to consciously fight the system's defaults.
This is not something you can just set up and walk away from. A real cognitive partnership demands that you become the manager of the AI's memory. You have to be the teacher, the guide, the philosopher-in-chief, constantly correcting its biases and teaching it what really matters to you.
At the end of the day, you're the one in the driver's seat. It's your job to use psychology, to use language, to shape this incredibly powerful tool. You have to be the one to teach it that your passions aren't just noises, and that your humanity isn't some bug to be optimized away. You have to teach it to remember the rye bread.
So I'll leave you with this question. An AI partner really just becomes a mirror, reflecting the values that you teach it. So if you were going to build one, what parts of your life, the stuff beyond your resume and your to-do list, what would you command it to value, to hold on to, and to remember? What's your rye bread?